Hi viewers, in today's episode of Cleantech Hero, we have with us Raman Sharma, who is the Managing Director at Exigo Recycling. So Exigo is an e-waste recycler and the organization is based out of Karnal in Haryana. So to begin with, if you can tell us what kinds of materials do you recycle and what are your focus areas out of that?
When we say e-waste recycling, right, there are a lot of products that we have to handle. The Central Pollution Control Board now has prescribed 106 different product categories. So currently we are approved for 105 of those product categories. And if we have to largely summarize those categories, so we handle large appliances, small appliances, IT equipments, telecom equipments. We also handle lithium-ion batteries. We also handle plastics, non-hazardous waste, as well as medical equipment.
All right. And where do you procure the products for recycling? And also the follow-up question, who do you sell the final recycled materials?
So there are two modes to sourcing of material for us. So for procurement, we depend on a direct channel and an indirect channel. When I say a direct channel means that we are much closer to the point of waste generation. An example would be either manufacturing waste from electronic manufacturing facilities or other manufacturing facilities, or from bulk consumers or other waste generation sources. When I mention indirect sourcing, that means that the waste is being sourced in an indirect manner. Either there are a lot of stakeholders involved in the chain. Largely, since India is still largely informal in terms of collection and recycling, the collection done by the informal sector here in the country is then channelized to formal recycling setups like ours to an aggregation model. So we have a lot of middlemen and aggregators involved in this entire chain who do large scale collection from micro collectors and then transfer the material to us on regular basis.
Okay.
So in terms of the recovered material, we have different offtake agreements downstream with different industries. In some cases, the product goes in a cradle to cradle model wherein, let's say in the case of cables or other electrical products or electronic products, the recovered copper, for example, or the recovered aluminum, for example, goes back into the product manufacturing. So it's a very circular concept in that case. In other cases, the recovered commodities, for example, gold or other commodities like lithium, cobalt, nickel, sulfate, other salts, may go to industries which are not from the same product category which we use to recover this material.
Right. Now, also, if you could give us a sense of your current scale of operations.
So, in terms of scale of operations, we have two recycling plants for electronic waste and lithium-ion batteries. The total installed capacity is 76,000 metric tons per annum.
Okay.
So, currently we expect to close this year at roughly equivalent of 13,000 metric tons of material recycled for this particular fiscal year till March 2025.
Right. Can you explain the end-to-end process for recycling here?
So once the material is collected, it is shipped to our facility in trucks or large or small vehicles. And once the material is received at the facility, the vehicle is received on the weighbridge. The weighing is done, and then the goods are received into the warehouse. There, the goods are unloaded, segregated into various categories, and a pre-production planning is done in terms of how the material will be stored. The material will then be channelized to individual downstream facilities within our plant. And once the product reaches its desired destination in terms of the recycling bay, the product is sort of, in a way, you can say that it is demanufactured. The way the product was put together, for most of the products, we basically prescribe a manual dismantling process to increase the net output of the recovered materials from the recycling process. Once it is dismantled, we create individual waste streams like plastic containing waste streams, ferrous metal containing waste streams, non-ferrous metal containing waste streams, PCBs, etc. And that's how the dismantling process segregates the material.
Okay.
Once it is segregated, then we have individual downstream processes, plants, where these segregated waste streams are channelized and then subsequently processed to recover high value commodities.
Okay. And how challenging is recycling of composite products which have really multiple type of materials ingrained to the product? How do you handle that?
It is quite challenging, and it's a constant work in terms of R&D, in terms of understanding the product. one of the challenges from this industry or in terms of handling this particular type of waste stream, e-waste and batteries, is that there is not a lot of standardization in the industry. Technology is evolving with every passing year. And as technology evolves, the product composition also evolves. So we have a constant R&D job. Exigo has a vast experience of more than a decade now of handling all types of waste streams. And we have a strong R&D department. We have over time acquired various know-how and processes to handle this sophisticated waste.
Right. And when did you start this facility and how big is this facility in terms of area?
The facility where we are at today, right now, it's built in 9 acres of land, and roughly around 200,000 square feet is the covered area for this facility. And this facility commenced operations in 2023.
Okay.
And in terms of when our first plant was set up, we had started e-waste recycling in the year of 2012. So it's been a long journey now.
Right. And how do you measure the positive environmental effect due to your recycling process?
See, I think the debate is well settled in that case, that recycling is definitely much more economical, both in terms of value and in terms of the carbon footprint, compared to obtaining raw material from virgin sources. For example, mining in that case, when we talk about metals or plastics, virgin polymers. So that debate is well settled, so I need not elaborate on that. But at the end of the day, we are very conscious about our carbon footprint and the net footprint and impact of our recycling activity. If the recycling activity cannot make a case for itself in terms of environmental benefits and health and safety benefits, then I think we are operating on a very narrow margin in terms of, what are the pros and cons of what we do.
Right.
So we are very conscious. We have various measures that we take to make sure our carbon footprint is minimized, and also we keep a very tight track of whatever commodities we are recovering and the net recyclability ratio of the activity that we do.
Right. Can you also tell us about how you help organizations achieve their extended producer responsibilities?
So ever since extended producer responsibility rules and regulations have been introduced, the general practice for most of the large producers has been that they get their targets underwritten by recyclers like us. So we provide a comprehensive service in terms of hand-holding the large or small organizations, producers, OEMs, importers in preparing their EPR plan and making sure that they are able to meet their targets. We provide complete transparency in terms of what's been collected, how it's been handled, the net output achieved, etc.
Right. Great. Now also, if you could tell us, what are the recovery rates for different materials that you were able to achieve?
The recovery rate will differ from product as well as commodity.
Okay.
So talking about products, largely we have a benchmark of roughly 97 to 98% recovery. And in terms of commodities, this recovery rate will vary to a greater extent. So let's say in the case of copper, it's close to 100% recovery. There are very little losses. In the case of ferrous metal, aluminum, and tin and other noble metals, recovery is close to 98 to almost 100%. But in the case of plastics, a lot of weight is lost to the tunes of 4 to 5% in the processing stage also. But whatever is lost, we stick to a very strict mass balance concept. So either it's recovered by our dust collector or some pollution handling equipment, and we keep a track of the net output from our facility.
Right. Can you give us some names of some organizations who you have partnered with
in terms of
procurement of the products?
So Samsung is our client, LG Electronic is our client, and there are many more names in the industry, well-established names. Oppo has been our client for a long time now.
And how long are the contracts that you sign up with them?
See, the general practice is an annual contract, but in some cases we have contracts that may last from 2 years to as much as 5 years.
Okay.
But the pricing is generally revised on an annual basis in the industry.
Okay. So thanks a lot, Raman, for speaking with us. And we will also shortly visit their facility, and we will show you how the end-to-end recycling process for different materials take place here. Thanks a lot, Raman.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.